I want to talk about you going to visit Zambia. How was that?
Yeah, it was incredible. So basically, the series was all set in Zambia, and it's the first time that the BBC have done that before. So 5 years in one location, and they followed lots of animals around. And I felt it was really important to go there, so I did for just over a week.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so you talked to me about, when we chatted a little bit, you talked about how you found these Zambian singers, and you combed over every single one that you can find to make sure it was authentic to the sound and the native sound. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I'm someone who believes that if you're in an area, if you're working on maybe like a character who has a strong connection to their heritage or anything like that, then it's okay to use music from that heritage, just do it respectfully and be authentic, which is why I went to Zambia and I worked with 5 singers out there. I worked with a couple of musicians. I worked with a drum collective of 4 drummers, and I also hired a load of traditional instruments, and I had this huge studio, and I sampled all of them and came up with lots of material, just so that it could kind of be part of the heart of the score.
Yeah, and you can feel that, you can hear it. So how much of that material from Zambia made it into the score?
I think my conservative estimate would be 50 to 60%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's probably more because some of it's really obvious. So if you could hear the voice that was in the clip, that was one of the singers from Zambia.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
But even in the bit before with the warthogs, there was a little plucked instrument, and that was a little banjo that I found because I went to a little market and found it and went back to the studio and recorded it and whatnot. So there's a lot of material, even if it's a tiny little bit or kind of really obvious that's in there.
We love that authenticity and and just the respect for the land. And you were telling me how you had only experienced Africa from Nigeria. So to go back, to go to a different country and to revisit Africa and see it through the eyes of that community had to be just beautiful and open your musicality up into something completely. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was amazing. So I've grown up, going to Nigeria because my family from Nigeria quite regularly, and so that's basically my experience of Africa. And I was kind of landing in Zambia, realizing that I'm in a completely different country. It's gonna be completely different, and it was. And there's this really wonderful moment where I had these 4 drummers. I wish I had a picture because they were all dressed in traditional gear and everything. And I kind of gave them something that I'd written, and I had done a little demo of some drumming just to kind of give the producers and directors an idea, and I took that off and they played on it. And my experience is very West African with Nigeria, and they played, and I could not recreate what they played. It was so different, and it just kind of reminded me in a really special way of the richness and the beauty of Africa and all the different cultures that are there.
You're welcome, everyone. Yes. Tell me about the jazzy bass.
Oh yeah. So the whole point of kind of me doing the show is that they wanted someone who hadn't done a natural history show before, and they also wanted someone who was going to kind of bring a slightly different sound. So I was there kind of trying to figure out what I would need. I've got I had all the stuff from Zambia. I had an orchestra as well, and I worked with a couple of soloists, so I had to kind of figure out, it wasn't all going to be orchestra, what was I going to need? And I thought, okay, there's going to be some more intimate moments, and that was a big thing as well, that it wasn't all big orchestra. And I thought, I need kind of a few options. So I worked with this amazing woodwind player called Josh Plotner. I literally don't know a woodwind instrument he doesn't play. So he played all of the bass flute and bass recorder and stuff. And I felt I just needed something else that would help with the lighter moments. I didn't really want really comedy kind of classic music. Needed something a bit different, and I thought a double bass would work really well. So threw that in. They liked it. It stayed. So.
Yeah, amazing. What about any other? Well, it says here unusual instruments, but that wasn't unusual at all. But what can you tell us? You told me about a lot of the instruments that you picked up out there. Can you expound on that?
Yeah, definitely. So with the traditional instruments, there's a great big wooden-looking thing, and they told me it was a drum. I was just like, that doesn't look like a drum. But they kind of showed me how to play it, and I was able to use that. And the great thing that I did with Josh as well, we kind of just did an explorative session early on where I kind of had written some themes to him, and he just kind of very kindly played them on lots and lots and lots of instruments to kind of figure out the sound I was after. And in the end, I kind of landed on bass flute and bass recorder.
Very cool. I mean, it sounds so rich and just vast. Like it feels endless, beautiful. So, did you make any use of any of the themes for the animals?
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole series is based on 4 basically animal families, so lions, hyenas, leopards, and wild dogs. And I wrote themes for all of them and had almost all of them recorded with the singers in Zambia, so that I could then use voice quite a lot. I thought that was quite important. They were kind of pitching the show as like Game of Thrones for animals. There's a lot of vying for power and that kind of thing. So it's very kind of rich and thematic. It's that kind of, I don't want to say old school score like it's old school music, but it's very thematic in that way. So yeah, I made lots of use of it.
And your experience being there, how did you move through the space? Were you, did you have a guide? How were you able to get that? Were you able to get close and personal? How was the experience?
Yeah, so I didn't go to the place where they actually filmed the animals because I couldn't get there. But they kind of set me up with, they have a fixer who kind of sorts everyone out with accommodation and drivers and whatnot, and they looked after me, thankfully.
I want to know more about the singers and because you said that you folded them into the score so beautifully. I want to know how was that experience? Did you record with them? What happened? When you went to Zambia, did you come back and you was I have to record more? How did that work?
There was a lot of research done before, a lot, more than I could have done myself. So I had my assistant kind of go through and literally find anyone online who was Zambian, who was a vocalist. Right. Anyone. Create this giant spreadsheet for me. And I went through every single one and listened to all of their music and just found the voices that I liked. Because I had, the leopard family is basically a mother and a daughter. And I knew that I wanted a deeper, richer, more alto voice for the mother, so it kind of feels, a little bit more aged, and kind of younger, higher voice for the daughter. And as soon as I heard those people, I was like, that's the person. Then I had to figure out how to get in touch with them, which was,
How did you do that?
Lots of going through Facebook and trying to find
sliding in DMs.
Numbers. Yeah. Trying be I am a real person.
Yeah.
I am Nigerian, but I'm not a Nigerian prince.
I want you to sing. I want you to, right? I want you to sing a hyena's voice. I'm a Nigerian
prince, but I'm not that kind of Nigerian prince. So, you can trust me, kind of.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing this beautiful music with us, and just the best of luck to you. I think it's beautiful for you having to have been there, gone there, and seeing a different country. That just was hit me so deeply, and to give voice to these beautiful creatures who don't have one of their own and are so disrespected and undervalued. It's so nice to be able to see them in a beautiful light that they shine in already, So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.